again, everyone, and welcome to Retirement Ready TV, where we go in depth on all things retirement related. What does it take to make a successful and fulfilling retirement? And what are some of the mistakes that you can avoid? I'm Michelle Davidson. With me today are Tim and Laura Schultz of Preservation Retirement Services right here in Cleveland, who have helped so many people realize their retirement dreams for so many years. Are you ready for another great show in your beautiful home?
Welcome.
Yes,
We'd love to have you here.
Think of our clients as family, so we wanted to invite you, our viewers, into our home too, so welcome.
All right, so what do we have coming up on the show today?
Yeah, we're going to talk on the light board about longevity risk. Now, I just Googled that the oldest living person in America is 117 years old right now. So
But speaking of grandma, my grandma lived to just shy of her 102nd birthday, so
Wow.
it happens.
I don't know, we're all going to live that old, but with the advance of healthcare, we are living older and longevity risk is real. We need to deal with that.
How to plan for it.
Yes.
Okay, and then we have a segment for all of our women out there.
Yes, in Women Get Retirement Ready today, we're talking about what to do if you feel like you're a little bit behind. Maybe you stayed at home with your family and didn't work outside the home for all those years. What do you do if you're feeling like you're behind the eight ball for retirement?
Okay, and I know there are a lot of people in that situation right now that are like, okay, I will stay tuned for that. And then you have a segment on annuities.
Annuities can do what? That's the segment. We're going to talk today about annuities, how they can protect with market volatility. It's that roller coaster, the dreaded up and down of the market. Annuities can be a vital component of that. I'll go into it.
All right, we have another amazing show planned for you today. This time we're talking about the top risks to a happy retirement. That's what we want, right?
We do.
What are the things that could rear their ugly head and disrupt your retirement years? And what can we do to prevent them? And
Yeah.
you have some great advice.
One thing you can do is get a second opinion, right? We always say that. And our second opinion is our retirement ready review. And everybody that comes into our office, whether it's the North Olmsted office or a Beechwood office, we sit down and we listen and we hear what they have to say about their dream retirement. And it has to do with reviewing the risk. That's where it all starts.
Right. We've always talked about our roadmap process on the show, but that R in roadmap stands for reviewing risks. We do it with every single client that walks in the door, because whatever their dream retirement is, whether it's traveling the world, whether it's spending time with grandchildren, whether it's sitting on their, back patio with a glass of wine watching their dog play, who knows?
I like that one.
We want to make sure that something that's outside of their control doesn't throw their dream retirement out of reach. For example, let's think about things that have affected folks' portfolios over the last few years. Inflation. Viewers out there, do any of you have control over inflation?
I don't think so.
Probably not. Did that affect for folks' portfolios over the last couple of years? You better believe it. What about the conflict between Russia and Ukraine? Anybody out there have a direct line to Putin? No, I don't.
I hope not.
But did that affect our portfolios?
Yeah, of course it did.
It did. And the worst case scenario is one of these things can come out of left field and disrupt your portfolio right before you're going to retire. What if 100% of your portfolio is in the market and weeks before you retire, you see that portfolio go down 20, 30, 40%? How are you going to make that up without exposing your portfolio to even more risk when you're not adding anymore? When you become voluntarily unemployed, you're not putting principal into your retirement accounts anymore. So we have to think about things. So market volatility is a big one that we have to think about. Tim, inflation too. That's something that we've seen come up. It's something we've always planned for. Folks 3 or 4 years ago when we were planning for income, they thought we were crazy.
Yeah, and then it shot all the way up.
When we said, we want to make sure if you're starting to pull $1,000 a month in retirement to cover your income gap, $1,000 now isn't going to buy the same amount of things of that same $1,000 in 10 years. We've always assumed a 3% inflation average for expenses, something we have to build into the plan. Healthcare is a big one too.
Yeah, that's a big one. And obviously, that's the reason why I created Preservation Retirement Services so many years ago. And it's my why. And, if you go to our website, preservationretirement.com and retirewithprs.com, there's some great videos on there that explains, my situation, why I started this company. But my father was in a horrible accident. He was in the hospital for a long time, and we lost everything that we had, our house, my college funds, because of long-term care. And it's something that at least needs to be talked about, and we build that into somebody's retirement plan if they want it. And the next one is really, I talked about earlier, is longevity. And you got a story about that you mentioned with your grandmother.
Yeah, my grandmother, lived a very long life. up through age, just shy of 103. It's
amazing.
So it's amazing. And luckily she was in a good financial position, and she had the funds to be able to do that. But as we're trying to answer that number one question we get from clients, do I have enough money? We get that to retire. We do want to make sure that they have funds lasting into their mid 90s to 100, because people are just living longer. And another big risk to folks' retirement that I think a lot of financial professionals out there aren't taking into account is rising taxes. For many of our clients, we see that the bulk of their portfolio is invested in tax-deferred accounts. They haven't paid taxes on that. That's, for example, your traditional IRA, your 401k, 403b, TSP, 457. We joke an IRA is an IOU to the IRS, right? Meaning, if you have $1 million saved in your IRA, great, but do you have $1 million to spend in retirement? Absolutely not. And if you think, like we do, that taxes are going to go up to deal with things like funding Social Security, the national debt, then the piece of that retirement pie that's eating up by taxes going up more and more is bigger and bigger. So we have to account for that risk that taxes will rise.
Yeah, that's big. And just to add to that, we see all the time in our industry that so many retirement planners just concentrate on the accumulation phase of retirement.
What's the rate of return?
Yeah, and of course that's important. But, when we specialize in distribution, why I named the company Preservation Retirement Services so many years ago, we also want to think about how we can keep that money and protect it from the government.
Because we can't avoid taxes. I know we would like to, but we legally can't avoid taxes.
Legally.
So avoid them, but you could be smart about them. You can be efficient about them.
Yep.
And that's all of these things. We can't avoid market volatility. No matter, you can have the best retirement planner in the whole world. The market goes like this. It goes up and down. You can't avoid downturns in the market. You can't help if taxes are going to go up. You can't
avoid death. It's going to happen. These things
or
happen.
Inflation. They happen, but you have to plan for them in advance. And I think that's really where we shine for a lot of our clients. We don't wait for market volatility to happen. We don't wait for the market to go down.
Plan for this.
Yeah, we don't wait for the market to go down and then do something. We do something knowing at some time in the future the market's going to go down. Exactly. Same thing. We can't just sit there and wait for taxes to go up. Let's start doing something today to shift money from tax-deferred accounts into tax-free accounts. So, what is the answer? Well, there's a lot of different strategies we can use to address these issues we talked about.
Roth conversions
on the tax
a big one.
Shifting that money from tax-deferred to tax-free. On the healthcare issue, life insurance, right?
Yeah, life insurance, we build it into our portfolios a lot of the times because that is a great way to transition money to children tax-free. But that comes down to retirement ready review. We sit down and we listen and we figure out that customized approach.
If folks are worried, if we think healthcare risk is big for them, life insurance also has living benefits built into it that we can build. Again, we don't know if there's going to be a healthcare risk for a particular person, if there's going to be some health event, but we can plan for it just in case.
That's the key.
Same thing when it comes to inflation. We can't help inflation, but we can make an income plan that increases every year to account for it. It's just not waiting to those things happen and then react emotionally.
We want to be ahead of it.
We want to be ahead of it. And so this roadmap gives us a map forward. We're thinking ahead.
And I'm sure the two of you have kind of seen it all, both with clients and in your own personal lives. So you can help us walk folks at home through it, and they could do that by reaching out to you. Is that right?
That's right.
Just give us a call, 440-345-6900.
You can give us a call and leave a voicemail. You can send a text message. Text the word READY to 440-345-6900. We'd be happy to send you a link to download your very own Retirement Ready Toolkit and just start that conversation. We'd love to start building your roadmap for you to think about all these risks to your retirement.
You can go to our website, retirewithprs.com. There's a lot of wonderful information. There's some videos about our whys and why we created this company and why we love to help people.
And previous episodes too, if folks want to watch those.
That too.
Sure, fun to go back in time. Yeah. Our hairs and clothes have changed a little bit, but we're still having a lot of fun and learning a lot of great information. We will be right back with more Retirement Ready TV.
Just living the dream right now.
Yeah, that's the one thing we really want to do is travel and adventure in our retirement. And We weren't even sure before what we'd be able to do. But after partnering with Tim and Laura, it's like, okay, we're good. Tim and Laura were able to visually show us where it would go and how it would grow. You know, we'd be able to actually have fun and leave a legacy for the kids. Everything that they do is, pinpointed to us.
Preservation Retirement Services. Get retirement ready. Call today.
Welcome back to Retirement Ready TV with Tim and Laura Schultz of Preservation Retirement Services right here in Cleveland. And we're talking about the risks we need to consider when planning for retirement. And I'm sure you see people who'd rather not think about all those pitfalls, but we're going to discuss, things to make them feel a little more comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
This is a good segue to that lady that you were telling me about. You meet with females only sometimes. And a couple of days ago, you told me a story that just probably fits right in well with.
Yeah. So as Tim said, most of the time we work with clients as a team, but on occasion there's female clients that choose to meet with me one-on-one for whatever reason, but that's just their choice. And I love to do that. I love to sit down with women and talk about retirement planning. This woman came in, she had been planning her whole life to retire at 65. But she lost her job at 62. She got laid off.
And you tell me she was that planner. She had it all laid out.
She had it all planned out. And this, the risk of losing your job was there. And she also realized, in her mind, she had been planning to retire at 65. She didn't have a retirement plan yet.
Right.
And she had her entire portfolio invested in the market. And, because she hadn't really been planning to retire quite yet. And then one of those days came along where the market was really volatile. And she saw in a single day her whole portfolio go down 5% because it was still in her old 401k in a very aggressive account, wasn't being managed. She hadn't made that adjustment once that life event happened, hadn't reacted with her portfolio to losing her job early, and started to panic because she said, I thought I had enough money in my own mind, based on retiring at 65, but now I have 3 more years that I have to pay not only for my income gap, but for health insurance too, because she wasn't of Medicare age yet and she didn't have health insurance through her employer. And now I just lost 5% of my money in a single day. So that was really a light bulb moment for her, where she said, I need help. I need to reach out somebody. Market volatility is a bigger risk for me now than it ever was before. Now that I'm unexpectedly retired, didn't know she'd be able to go back to work, find a job. And I need a plan now. Like, even though I thought I kind of had a plan in my mind, I need a real financial
She thought she had a plan. She didn't. She just had a bunch of accounts, primarily in her employer-sponsored plan. We see that all the time.
For sure. So again, we want to be proactive. We never know what life can throw our way. Have that financial plan in place. The plan can always mold and shape based upon things that happen in your life, but having that plan as a baseline, as a backbone, is so important.
And having you there as advisors to re-navigate the plan, right? To get back on track and where you feel comfortable and you can move on. So if someone at home is like, you know what, I just had a big life change and I need some help, how do they connect with you?
Yeah, it happens a lot. Just call us 440-345-6900.
Or better yet, you can text the word READY to that very same number. We'd love to send you a link to download your Retirement Ready Toolkit. If you want to have a conversation about your plan or maybe lack of a plan, we'd love to sit down for that Retirement Ready review. Give us a call, send us a text. Go to our website. You can schedule a meeting there.
Retirewithprs.com, retirewithprs.com. A lot of wonderful information there.
Certainly is.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's segment of the Retirement Ready Light Board. And in this week's show, Laura and I have been talking about top risks to a healthy and happy retirement. So I figured in this week's segment, we talk about 3 particular risks that could affect your retirement. So I'm going to draw them out. If you don't mind, I'm just going to write right on your television screen. But first, I need to do a little bit of magic. Okay, the first risk that most people think about is market volatility. That's your number one risk, right? Market volatility and the solution. What is the solution to fix market volatility? Well, if you had a crystal ball that worked, we have a crystal ball in our office. It doesn't work. I wish it did. But if it doesn't, and most people don't, it's about diversification. Make sure that your money is managed properly in the 3 different buckets of money: emergency, safe investments, and money at risk. Make sure you talk to your financial planner to make sure you have the proper diversification for your portfolio. Okay, the second risk in retirement really is long-term care. Now remember, long-term care could be home health care, which elevates to assisted living, which elevates up to nursing home. And long-term care used to be taken care of through standalone long-term care insurance plans. that really isn't the preferred way anymore. It's very risky. You could pay into a long-term care plan for many years, die peacefully in your sleep. All those premiums, they just go away. There are better ways to do it. Make sure you talk to your financial professional. Here at Preservation Retirement Services, we do a lot of long-term care planning with our clients, and it can be done through various ways, through annuities that have long-term care benefits built into them. And really our preferred way is a lot of permanent life insurance with living benefits that you can access the death benefit while you're alive to prepare and plan for long-term care. We'd be happy to talk to you about that personally and privately in our office. The third one, longevity. Longevity is the third risk to a happy retirement. Everybody says the same thing. Do I have enough money? Will it last? Longevity, with the advancements in healthcare, women living longer, men living longer, retirement can be a very long time, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. Laura's grandmother lived to 104 years old. It's all about planning with care, planning smart, making sure you have income planning to cover that income gap when that paycheck stops. That has to do with the D in our roadmap, in our Retirement Ready roadmap. D stands for distributing income. We talk about this for each and every client that comes into our office. Those are the top 3 risks in retirement. I hope that makes sense. I'll see you next week.
It's time for our favorite segment, Women Get Retirement Ready, where we take a question submitted by one of our female viewers. And this is so important to you. And you did such a great job explaining why maybe some of the female clients out there are still a little different.
Yeah, what I hear talking with females across Northeast Ohio when they come sit down with us either in our North Olmsted or our Beechwood office is they're so happy to have another female to talk to about retirement. That, sometimes we've all had experiences in our life as women where maybe we're just not connecting with the man on the other side of the table, whether that's when you're trying to get a car loan or maybe your financial planner. I hear from women all the time, it's really my husband's financial planner. He's not really listening to me. He's not even acknowledging me that I'm at the table. And we honestly hear that from, men sometimes when they come into our office. We're like, well, it says here you're married. Where's your wife? Well, she doesn't like this stuff. She can't understand this stuff. Sometimes women have removed themselves purposefully from the process of planning for their own retirements or planning their finances because they've had a bad experience. So at Preservation Retirement Services, we wanted to create a space where women could ask anything about retirement and know that we're listening to them. We're not judging them. There's no, nobody's going to think you're silly or stupid or, oh my gosh, how does she not know that? Because I've been there. There was a point in my life when I was much younger where I knew nothing about my finances. Even though I was very educated, capable, I had delegated that to an ex-spouse. And I look back and I'm like, why did I do that? I'm so silly. But there's no silly. It's just, we want women to get involved in their own financial lives and have the confidence to ask those questions that are on their mind, but maybe they're a little scared to ask so far.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, Pamela has a question on her mind.
Hi, Laura. I chose to stay home and raise my children, leaving my career, but now I'm widowed, and I'm really far behind in my career path. Any suggestions?
Yeah, Pamela, I'm sorry you find yourself in that situation. Unfortunately, it's kind of a triple whammy, right? You did what you needed to do earlier in your life. You stayed home with your family to help raise your children, take care of your household. And so that set you behind in your career, which also typically sets you behind in your retirement savings. If you're working from home, you're not earning an income, helping the family, but you're not earning an income. The second whammy is that your 401k, your 403b, your investments suffered. And on top of that, you lost a spouse early. That's a really difficult position that you unfortunately find yourself in. The best advice I can give you is to sit down with a retirement professional and go over a plan. Maybe you are behind, and if so, let's get a plan to get you caught up to the best of your ability. Maybe you aren't as behind as you think. Again, you need to sit down with somebody that can look at your accounts, look at your overall financial situation and your dreams and hopes for retirement and see how that's all fitting together. There are different ways if you're behind to go about catching up, contributing more to investment accounts if that's possible. One thing that is your control, it's not the most fun suggestion sometimes, but cutting back on expenses. Our budget to a certain extent is within our control. So maybe if you really are behind, It's something to take a look at. How much money am I spending? A lot of time folks come in and they have no idea how much they're spending every single month. So taking a close look at budget is another important thing. And then thinking about how long you're working, right? Maybe you hope to retire at 60 or 62, but what we find out is maybe that's not in the cards. Maybe we need to work a little longer, or part-time work is an option that I see a lot of ladies utilizing. Maybe they were working 5 days a week, but in retirement, they kind of thought they wanted to cut all the way back, but instead they go back to work 2 days a week, or they do something more fun that they've always wanted to do, work at a store that they love, or go have a lady that works at Costco and does demonstrations for the Vitamix machines. She's like, it's super fun. I get to talk to people every day. I make a little bit extra money. Suffice it to say, there's a lot of ways to go about catching up if you're behind, but just sit down with a retirement professional and they can help you figure out what makes sense for you.
It feels good to just talk it through with someone.
It does. Yeah. A sounding board. That's what we like to be.
And then you continue to build a relationship, and then you get on the right path. Okay. So if you at home have a question for this segment, how would they go about reaching out to you?
You can give us a phone call. You can leave us a voicemail. You can send us a text. The number is 440-345-6900. If you have a question that you'd like answered, you can text the word question to that number, and we'll help you get it answered, whether you want to be on our show with your beautiful shining face on our screen, or if you just want the question answered, we can figure out how to get it to me. But just don't sit there with that burning question that you're too scared to ask. I'd love to answer it for you.
Welcome to Annuities Can Do What? We're going to do this segment today because we found that conversations of annuities can be quite polarizing. People have strong opinions about them both ways. Most of the time, it's because of misinformation or a lack of correct knowledge. So I'm here in this segment every week to demystify annuities, educate, and hopefully share some knowledge with you. Now, before I get into this week's topic, I want to share some basic annuity information with you. So let's call it Tim's super abbreviated Annuity 101 class like we do every week. So what is an annuity? Well, an annuity is a contract between you and an insurance company where you give them a lump sum of money up front for a fixed period of time for a contractually determined rate of return or income stream in the future. Right? I mean, that's why annuities can be so confusing. But like we do every week, let's try. So as you can see on the graphic, this is our annuity spectrum. And Laura and I go over this every time we meet with somebody in our retirement ready review because we feel that it lays out the annuities pretty well. You can see there's 3 types of annuities. That's the good news. Fixed annuity on the left, variable annuity on the right, and in the middle is that hybrid, the fixed index annuity. So a fixed annuity is just like a CD on steroids. It's a guaranteed rate of return for a predetermined time duration. On the right is a variable annuity. Now, variable annuity has the highest fees out of any investment product out there. We are not fans of variable annuities, just to be upfront. They have the highest fees. Your money's in the market. So when the market goes down, and it has, and it will, you could actually lose money in the variable annuity. Now, don't get me wrong. We believe money should be in the market. Most of your money should be in the market, but there's other ways to do it where we can pay a lot lower fees and not have all your money tied up in a long surrender schedule. But the interesting one, the one that we like in the middle, is the fixed index annuity. It's kind of a hybrid of the two. A fixed index annuity usually has no fees, and you can never lose any money. When the market goes down, the insurance company covers all your losses. But when the market goes up, which we like, you share in those gains with the insurance company, whether through a participation rate or a cap. Annuities are not bad, particularly for individuals who are conservative and have a low risk tolerance or an income gap in retirement. Now, in those circumstances, we feel that annuities can be a valuable tool for part of your overall plan. The problem is that there's a lot of annuity sales reps out there that are overselling them because that's all they're doing. Unlike here at Preservation Retirement Services, we offer both insurance solutions and manage money in the market. So those individuals are selling the wrong annuity to the wrong person for the wrong purpose. Listen, are annuities perfect? No, of course not. Listen, but no one investment solution is. That's why we believe in diversification. The downside is that they're not fully liquid. However, you do have access to typically up to 10% of your annuity's value every single year without penalty. That is a key point. So let's get into today's topic. On the show, we've been talking a lot about different risks to a happy retirement. The big one is market volatility. So annuities can do what? They can protect against market fluctuations. So in the years when the market is down, remember, money in a fixed index annuity can never lose. It's all about diversification. We talk about the 3 buckets of money all the time here at Preservation Retirement Services. You need to have some money into an emergency account. That's just money in the bank if something happens. Like for us, when a washer and dryer went out a couple weeks ago, you don't want to have to liquidate retirement accounts to pay for those expenses. Then you need to have money in the market. And you also have to have money saved. So when the market is down, it has and it will. Remember, since the Great Depression, 1932, there has been 17 recessions. It has and it will happen. But even the novice investor knows that you buy low and you sell high, right? Well, the only way you really get in trouble is if all your portfolio is in the market and the market is down in the future and you need to take some money out, right? Now, whether it's just for monthly income to live off of, if there's an income gap, or maybe you need a new car. Maybe your child or grandchild needs to have a wedding, you want to contribute. That's the way where you get in trouble. If all your money's in the market, it is down, you need to pull from it. If you're properly diversified from market volatility, you have some money that is safe, you can pull from that bucket and wait for the market to return.
Welcome back. It always goes back to process, and I want you to walk us through that. What you do when someone comes to see you.
Yeah, we're very proud of our Retirement Ready Roadmap. We're going to talk about it right now.
Yeah, every client, after we find out what does their dream retirement look like, we walk them through it. ROAD. I'm not going to talk about R because we spent all day today talking about R, reviewing risks to your retirement, taxes, market volatility, healthcare, et cetera, et cetera.
The next one, the next letter is O, optimize. We're talking about optimizing taxes and legacy. How you keep as much money legally without giving it to the government. And when there is a passing, how do we shift that money to your heirs in the most efficient way?
That's right. A has to do with allocating assets.
Yeah.
Thinking about market volatility,
Yeah.
perhaps moving money towards a safe money retirement strategy, having a diversified portfolio that's consistent with your risk tolerance and your income needs in retirement, which brings us to D.
Yeah, income, D, distribute. And it really all comes down to that income plan. When you're working, your income is here, your expenses are here. When you become voluntarily unemployed, that paycheck goes away, it drops. There might be a little Social Security, there might be a little bit of pension, but you see that? There's that gap. Most people have one. It's okay. We use that portfolio to figure out the right way to distribute income.
From a tax perspective, from an income or an investment perspective, all of those things, you just need a plan.
And if you're watching from home and you're like, I really want to talk to them, can they do that? Can they just reach out to you?
It's so easy. You just need to call 440-345-6900.
Call and leave a voicemail. You can text the word ready to that number. We'd be happy to send you a link to download your Retirement Ready toolkit or set up that Retirement Ready review, that initial conversation where we can go over what's important to you. What risks to your retirement are out there that maybe you or your advisor haven't addressed yet? We'd love to help you figure that out.
Always go to our website, retirewithprs.com. There's a bunch of wonderful information on our website and a lot of our previous shows there if you want to go back and watch some other ones.
Thank you so much. And that's our time.
All right, we're done.
It always goes so fast.
It goes so fast. And thank you at home for joining us. We will see you next time.